Well, hey folks, my name is Brad. If you happen to be new to my channel, I search the mountains of Vermont with my metal detector, looking for treasures lost by the pioneers that settled this area. And today I find myself in this freshly cut hayfield because right behind me, over 250 years ago, there was a home of colonists. They lived here their entire lives, and when they left, the home was abandoned and basically totally forgotten about until the farmer that owns the land now accidentally discovered some of the chimney bricks while plowing. Now, they told me about it about 10 years ago, and I've been coming back year after year finding treasure after amazing treasure. Now, what's more is this field that I'm standing in right now, I have never actually stood in before. This small strip of field has never been cut while I've been here, so there's absolutely no telling what I could find today. Now, a small caveat is it's supposed to be over 100 degrees today, so it's more than likely going to be a half day for me, perhaps a short video, but you never know what I might find. I might hit the jackpot today. Let's hope so. Now, if this is one of the first of my videos that you've seen, I publish one of these every single Friday. So if you like what you see here today, consider hitting that subscribe button down below, or just come on back next week. I'm gonna get the metal detector out, see what we can find. Low tone 50, 48, 51, somewhere around there. It's a tiny little lead ball. These bucking balls. There would be 3 of these along with a larger sized musket ball, and it would be shot similar to a shotgun. 1 bigger projectile, 3 smaller projectiles. It's a cool find. That's a beautiful target, an exciting target, 88. Is that an old coin? Oh, yes it is. All right, well, it has been quite a bit of time. I've been sitting here staring at this coin every which way, shining a light on it sideways to see if I could find any details so we could identify this. Unfortunately, I couldn't. But more interesting than what it is, in my opinion, is how it has been manipulated. So as I started cleaning it off, I noticed the obvious holes, but this top one here is the only one that made it all the way through. There's 2 obvious ones on this side, and as we flip it, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a 6th from the other side. Now, manipulating coins have a long history, and kind of a funny story that I hear told all the time by fellow metal detectorists is that a washer, you know, a round piece of metal with a hole in it, would cost 2 cents. So these poor Vermont farmers would simply use a 1-cent coin to do that job. I don't know how true that is, but we do often find these converted into pie crimpers, toys for children, sometimes perhaps washers. This one, I have no idea. There's so many different holes in it. It almost looks like somebody was just fooling around with no purpose in mind. Let me know your thoughts. What were they trying to make? It also brings to mind, you know, while they were working on this thing, pounding away on it with a hammer, maybe that's how they lost it. Flew off into the distance to be found more than likely a couple hundred years later. Pretty cool. Love to hear your thoughts on what they were trying to do here. 65. Sounds pretty shallow. Whoa. I know exactly what that is. Awesome. Well, if you've seen any number of my videos, you've probably seen one where I find one of these. This is just a fragment of a colonial shoe buckle. Think stereotypical pilgrim footwear, right? Big buckle on their shoes and even on their hats. Obviously, this is just a fragment. I have found whole ones not too far from here, but I don't think I've ever found one with hearts on it like this. Look at that. So beautiful. This would have been hand engraved, meaning somebody was sitting down with a sharp tool cutting out these designs. They're going to be imperfect and different from each other, which makes it so unique. This particular piece of a shoe buckle is one I probably find the most. And the reason I know it's a shoe buckle is because when we turn it this way, we can see that this is where the pin would have gone through. We have to assume these little hearts and hatch marks went around the entire perimeter. Would have had 2 of them, obviously, 1 for each foot. And currently, it's green, which is the patina that these brass buckles get when they're exposed to oxygen and in the ground. But in the time, it would have been shined up, beautiful and golden. I love finding these. Regular viewers know that. They're just so quintessential this time period. Sometimes we find them in the early 1800s, but they're really just late 1700s, Revolutionary War era. When you find things like this, you know you're going to be in a good spot to find more awesome stuff metal detecting. The rest of it is likely around here somewhere. Let's see if we can find some of it. All right, we've got another one of these exciting targets, 88, nice and clean and clear. Nice. Appears to be an old copper coin. Another one, I can't believe it. Well, I think my favorite part about metal detecting a place like this, a place where people lived hundreds of years ago, and then there was not really anybody here ever since, is that there's not really a whole lot of modern trash. And so when you hear a target like that, you can be reasonably sure it's going to be something good. In this case, it was. What we have here is yet another old copper coin. Is this one going to be identifiable? I hope so. Let's give it a spray. All right, well, hopefully you see that. There is a bust facing left. This is a George II, and that is more than likely a 1759. So this is currency for the colonies, right? It would have been used in 1759, but it also could have been used well into the 1800s until the United States started making enough money to go around. But this place where I found it was most active late 1700s, 1780s, 1790s, so I have to assume that's when it was lost. Awesome find. Now, if I didn't mention it before, this place, not too far from here, maybe 20 feet away, is where I found the oldest coin I have ever found in the United States. Very similar to this, it was a British coin, William III. And I couldn't read the date, but it ranges from 1695 to 1701, so of course, it's definitely a 1695, right? But I found that here, so every copper I find, I'm hoping it's going to be another one of those in a little bit better condition, because that one was not great. This one is not as good as they come, but it's not bad. We can read a date, which is pretty rare with these, and I am more than happy to find yet another old copper coin here. Great, great find. Well, let's just say an 82 on the screen, 83. But it might be iron, it might be a nail. We'll see. No, that's not a nail. That is a huge, flat musket ball with teeth marks in it. Now, finding musket balls or any lead with teeth marks in them is not an uncommon thing. I have found dozens and dozens of musket balls that appear to have been chewed. And it's important to remember, I know our mind automatically goes to the saying, bite the bullet. You know, a soldier is getting something amputated perhaps, and he has to put a bullet in his mouth to bite down on it. Now, you never know, I suppose, but I'm fairly confident that is not the case with this particular musket ball that has been chewed on. Some of you probably remember the story of kids eating paint chips, right? And that's because lead acetate is sweet. It tastes just like table sugar. Now, I'm not saying a human was chewing on this. More than likely, a pig was chewing on this. And I say a pig because if this musket ball was shot or hit something and then landed in the ground, a deer or something probably wouldn't come across it, right? Pigs root in the ground probably came across this gave it a chew, maybe even swallowed it, gave it some teeth marks. I would bet if we cleaned this thing off and looked at those indentations, they would be more indicative of a pig, but you never know. Maybe kids in the 1700s chewed on musket balls instead. I'm sure we'll find some more. All right, we've got a nice high tone here next to another high tone. I do believe there are two different targets, an 87 and an 87. Let's see. See it? Man, that appears to be another copper coin for sure. Should we check over here? Is there a little coin spill? Well, I guess that's it. That's very strange. I've never had that happen before. One target give two separate readings. Well, in any case, we appear to have an old copper coin here. Man, this field is crazy. Well, you'll have to excuse the location change. As you can see, I'm in the shade here. I actually found the coin about 10 feet behind the camera. That's where the hole is. That's where the metal detector is. But to clean it off and talk to you folks, I decided to move over here because it is 90 degrees today. Please excuse the sweat raining down my face. Let's take a look at this coin. Given what I know, based on what we've previously found here and the history of the location, I have to assume this is either going to be a state coin or a British coin. Well, I have spent another great deal of time staring at this disc of copper. Unfortunately, I can't see any details on it. As before, if I'm able to clean it up at home, I will throw a picture of it, or at least an identification of it up on the screen. And that's just the way it goes with these old copper coins sitting in the ground for hundreds of years. Occasionally, they'll come out beautiful, but probably 60–70% of the time, they end up looking like this. But we can say that it is for sure money. An old copper coin dropped almost certainly in the 1700s by the inhabitants that lived here. And because of that, it's a great find. $64. Button? Yeah, must be. Whoa. Don't find them like that very often. Well, I have probably found, I don't know, 50, 60, 70, 100 buttons on this property over the years. And they came in all different varieties, sizes, materials, designs. I don't think I've ever found a military button here, but I can't say though I've ever found one that looks anything like this. That's really neat. It's almost like a basket weave pattern on there. The shank is missing, but maybe you can see there is some ivy or some leaves around the outside. This one is probably into the 1800s, I would guess. And sometimes these style buttons will have some text on the back letting us know how many times it was gold plated or gilded. As I've said, I've found a ton of them here, but still finding unique designs. We're always hoping we're going to find something historically significant like a military button or something, but unique buttons like this are always fun for me to find as well. See if we can find some more. 82. Well, that is a drawer pull. First I thought it was going to be a rivet, but no, that's definitely from a piece of furniture. Cool find. $76. No way. Unbelievable. Well, typically on my metal detector, which today is the XP Deus 2, these copper coins read up sometimes into the 90s, high 80s, low 90s. And so when I got this target, I thought, well, I was hoping maybe it would be like a button or a buckle or something like that. But what we have here is another coin. You can see how out of shape it is, deteriorated. And I can, I think, make out a bust right there. We'll spray it off and see if we can see it any better. Now, before we even positively identify what this coin is, I'm going to have to take a wild guess and say that it's an old British copper, because some of them, some years of them, the copper in them was just not very good. And we can hear that in the metal detector. It rang down in the 70s. Also, some of these British coins were counterfeited here in the United States. Could be one of those as well, but we're not going to know until we spray it off and get a better look at it here. Well, with some side light here, hopefully you can see that left-facing bust of what is likely a George II coin. And also, unfortunately, we can't see any of the text around the bust to know whether or not it is a counterfeit. But I have found quite a few of those, a couple here, I believe, so it's very possible that's what this is as well. Some days I go all day hoping I'm going to find one coin, and sometimes I don't even care if it's old or not. Today, it seems to be all we're finding. Not complaining about it whatsoever. It's just funny how that works sometimes. Awesome, awesome old find. All right, folks, well, I once again found some shade. If it isn't 100 degrees right now, it is certainly close to it. I did make it slightly longer than a half day. It's 2 o'clock, it got started at 8, so I did put in quite a few hours, but I cannot believe how many old coins I found today. It's basically all I found. 4 old colonial copper pennies. Well worth bearing the heat today, I think. I've got it all laid out here. Let's take a look at it. Well, I do believe pretty much everything you see here you have seen previously in this video, with the exception of a few of those buttons, I suppose. Finds were very few and far between, but somehow we ended up with 4 old copper half pennies. I'm assuming as of this very moment that they're all British. 4 buttons, although as time goes on, this one is resembling a copper washer more and more. It seems like something strange is going on with the center of that there. I found the big chewed on musket ball, as well as a tiny little bucking ball. We have a drawer pull, and we have a fragment of a colonial shoe buckle. Small pile, but awesome stuff. All right, folks, I want to thank you again for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and hopefully I'll see you next Friday for another new adventure somewhere up here in the mountains of Vermont.